Welcome to Modern Entrepreneur. Today we have Anwar Bey-Taylor. He's an entrepreneur, professor, writer, designer, and avid world traveler. He's also the founder and director of Mind Traveler Design, which sounds really cool, and is a boutique, multifaceted video game development studio located in San Francisco, California. Thank you so much for joining us today. Tell me about Mind Traveler Design.
All right, so Mind Traveler Design is a video game company. We specialize first in monster and character creation for video games. And so all those crazy characters and monsters that you see in games, we make those.
People outsource their monster creation.
Yeah, a lot of people do. So that's games, film, commercials, advertising, design, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah.
Whoa, so you're making, these are all obviously computer CGI stuff. And so you guys design these monsters and their movement and all that?
Everything from concept design, which is like the 2D drawing of the monster, to the 3D character creation, which is the 3D version.
Right.
And then rigging, which is like setting up the bones, and then animation, which is like moving the character.
So cool. How long have you been designing monsters?
For 12 years.
12 years?
Yeah.
And you got into that how?
I think I was just at a cross path in life where I was like, I was learning about nursing, hated it, and then so I just really found myself playing video games all day, every day, skipping school, just playing games. And then one day, my buddy Nick AOL'd me a link.
AOL'd you.
And he was like, look, there's a school that teaches video game design. And I was like, okay. And then that just really warped my whole reality because I just didn't have any idea that that was even possible, that people could make careers making video games.
What an interesting story. So there's something unique about a person who actually gets up off the couch, puts the video game controller down, and goes and decides to like make the damn thing. What do you think it is that had you be that guy?
I just always knew that I wanted to live a life of passion, a life of adventure and exploration. And so that just fit the bill 100%.
Yeah.
I just dropped everything and dedicated my life to it.
Yeah, incredible. And so now it's been 12 years since you...
Since I left the couch.
Since you, oh yeah,
Yeah,
since
yeah.
you left the couch. And so if you could go back, I mean, I presume, I don't know your entrepreneurial story, but no one's is typically, smooth sailing. Entrepreneurship is always a challenge. If you could go back and tell that guy, just as you were sort of getting off the couch, some piece of advice that would have smoothed your sail, what would that be?
Thrust forth, young lad.
We're thrusting already.
I mean, like the past is like no regrets for me. And though, there's been plenty of trials and tribulations, tons of uncertainties, a lifetime of journeying into the unknown, just kind of like in the dark, just in hope of like what I imagine could be possible to actually become possible. And so the interesting thing about that question is the dynamicism behind it all, because essentially what it's saying is that like, now that you've seen or exposed light to so much of the darkness, what would you tell yourself at the beginning when everything was dark? And literally I would just say, just go. I mean, it's just been venture. Like, I wouldn't want to overwhelm my young mind with too much vision because it's to be experienced.
What do you think gave you the courage to take those first steps? Like most people don't, right? Because something in the process, somewhere along in the process, they decide that they couldn't, or it's too hard, or shit, there's other people making monsters, or whatever it might be, right?
Again, video games have always been something I've been like passionate about. And so the idea of video games being a career that provides economy, I think that was the initial thing. And it just seemed so far away. It just seemed so impossible. But the other side of that was everything that I already knew.
Yeah.
And so I just needed to see.
What do you feel like your unique skill set is? Why have you been successful where certainly many others have not been in what has got to be a incredibly competitive field?
I think I'm a fairly easy person to talk to. I think I can express my passion fairly well. I think I can lace all that up into some interesting kind of poetic expression. I think that I can create at this point what feels like whatever I like. And so, crossing that bridge of like the unimaginable and then seeing that it's totally real, really inspired me to just continue to like figure out ways of imagining things that don't feel possible anymore and then making them real. And so I think just all that energy goes a long way.
Yeah, it's interesting. So obviously you've, like as you just said, you developed some skills in your craft over the years. But the first thing that came out of your mouth was like my personality, right? My energy, the way I am, is what's had me be successful, which I think is true. Some people tend to just be like attractive to be around, and stuff kind of tends to present itself in ways that it doesn't when to others, right? What do you think it is? Do you think that's something that can be developed?
So I've developed this design kind of like thinking process that I call imagination design. And essentially what it is it's identifying two beasts in the mind. One being the wonderful imagination, the other being the savage hater. The savage hater.
Savage hater.
Yes. And so the wonderful imagination is, like I've been talking about already, is like the ideas in the mind of like what the future could hold, about what is possible in the world, and about how like you could be in the center of all of that. Even though there's no applicability to the present and at the given time that it's being thought about. And then the savage hater is the other side of the wall. It's that voice in the mind that says, don't, and you're fine, and everything that you're experiencing now is okay. Don't fall in love, don't go to the gym, don't try to create that company, school. There's no pathway for you to obtain this kind of creative education. So stay here with your friends, keep playing games. Don't go to Africa for 3 months by yourself and travel 8 countries because you'll die. And it's always saying you'll die. If it's not Africa, then it's like crossing the street. Yeah, that's the savage hater. And so the idea is that when you can identify both of those beasts of the mind, then you can start to control them. And so I think a lot of people are just existing in the world without knowing that voice, the savage hater, is something that isn't real. It's a prehistoric kind of like mind mechanism that has followed us through generations of existence. It comes from the day when you could walk out and scratch yourself and it become infected and you die.
Sure.
It comes from the day where if you break your leg, you won't be able to hunt and gather and provide for your family, you can die.
Yeah.
And so it's constantly just like, no, safety first, et cetera, et cetera. So once you realize what that is, well, then you can quiet it down. You can tell it, no, it's okay. Like these things that I'm imagining, it's just a game. So there's no reason for you to come out and like try to talk me away from it.
Yeah.
And then it kind of like assumes this position that it goes into like when you go to an amusement park or when you're playing sports or something, things that are could be perceived as dangerous, but it just says like, it just doesn't say anything. And so within that space of the savage hater being controlled by game is when we can create effortlessly and infinitely. And so I use that space to see new worlds for myself that are not anything that is happening right now.
So you created an agency that that's a business like any other that has to get customers and get projects. What's working today to do that successfully for you?
This kind of stuff, getting out, talking to people, meeting them, sharing philosophy, sharing a journey, and talking about what we can create.
So in a business, because you guys don't need a ton of clients, you need like a few projects a year or something like that, probably, right?
Yep.
So it's a lot about networking and just meeting people and getting to be known in the space. Yeah.
Sharing artwork from past projects that we can share, posting on the internet, not just Instagram, but like focused like platforms that video game companies actually go to, perhaps when they're recruiting talent, or just when they just want to see what's like hot as far as like design and like art goes.
Yeah.
And so we're there sharing our artwork, talking about what is possible as far as what we could do for the client.
Yeah.
And then that tends to yield new connections.
And so what do you feel like is, kind of your cutting edge? What are you learning right now? What is next on your plate?
So I'm working on a project. It's called Plasma Worlds. And essentially what it is it's like the mixing of like the entrepreneurship, the creative design work, and the travel. And essentially what I'm doing is I'm building out a whole intellectual property, a multi-entertainment platform, one that spans from books, illustrated stories, comic books, video games, movies, film, TV shows, et cetera, anything that you could think of on an entertainment platform, this IP would be directly applicable to. Why? Because it's starting with story, just like Harry Potter, just like Hunger Games, et cetera. And so that's my focus.
What's going to be like the challenge that you're going to need to like overcome or learn to handle that stands between you and succeeding at that thing?
To meet whole new people. So people that are far outside of like, video game professionals.
Right.
To continue to meet VCs, to meet money people, to meet people that like have some type of like imagination, but at the same time they're like super businessy. As I continue to meet those people, then like possibilities to like partner with them and create becomes possible.
Yeah.
And so I'm still early in that. I'm still battling the savage hater to like get up and like find those people and like talk to them and put myself in those kind of like awkward situations, especially upon like initial meet.
So you're a young guy, obviously, and you have a lot of career ahead of you. But if you can, humor me and imagine yourself, 30 years from now, looking back on your career and imagining what you would like your legacy to be, what do you think that would be?
He who traveled far and wide, created, expressed, saw, conquered, failed, succeeded, and grew every step of the way into whoever he is 30 years from now. And made video games, made entertainment platforms, made friends worldwide, and people loved it.
What do you think it means to be a modern entrepreneur?
Curiosity and action.
It's true. There's something about remaining curious today in particular. Things are moving so quickly, right? Like I've got 2 kids and it feels like 6 months ago it was like all about Musical.ly, and now like Musical.ly is ancient history.
Yeah, I don't even know what that is.
You don't even know. Yeah, you missed it, man. You missed a whole phenomenon.
Boom.
And so yeah, to maintain a sense of curiosity, I think is important.
Imagine I show up at some event or some business meeting, and I say, my name is Anwar Bey-Taylor, and I am founder of a successful video game design studio. I've been working in the industry for 12 years. I've worked on the most awesome games in the industry: World of Warcraft, StarCraft, Assassin's Creed, Sims, Star Wars, et cetera. And now I want to create an entertainment platform. It's based on a story that I've written with my imagination, and its applicability is to every entertainment outlet that you could possibly think of. This is a multi-billion-dollar idea. Invest in me. Like, there's so much more that I would assume needs to be said for people to believe in the possibilities. And so curiosity is key, especially when we're dealing with something that makes no sense or isn't what we expected it to be. And I believe that through that, there's just whole new worlds to be experienced and explored, whole new worlds of business expansion, whole new worlds of successes, whole new worlds of ideas, and whole new worlds of going about dealing with failure to turn it into success. And so for the people that are so confident in their present situations with no interest of stepping outside of that, I think that they should just stay where they are and make room for me.
Awesome, Anwar. Hey, great to have you. Really great to talk to you.
Definitely.
Would you sign our wall?
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks so much.